Hello, everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 273. Samu, there's a new name. Hello. Well, Jared asked me a very important question. I was going to complain and moan and whine and turn this into an Andrew's therapy session, but Jared asks, have I watched any new anime this season? Which is a much more interesting topic than hearing me whine about my inability to help other people. Anime. I am continuing to watch Ranking of Kings, which started last season, but it's continuing on. Same thing with what's the name of it? Hero accidentally is a king and does good things for his kingdom. Oh God, what? How a realist hero something. I'm gonna have to look it up because I can't remember the name. I love these. I love a lot of anime names in current years have been like they're not trying to get anything short and catchy. This is partially seems to be a trend, but also partially just directly translating the title. Let's see. How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. That's the English title. Okay, there we go. So Ranking of Kings and How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom, which is funny because there was another one that looks like it might have like exactly the same premise. Yeah, here we go. The Genius Prince's Guide to Raising a Nation Out of Debt. Which sounds like the exact same show. A genius political wonderkind is in charge of bettering a kingdom and does really good at it. The difference is, I think one is serious about it, and the other just doesn't care, but ends up doing the right thing anyway. Oh look, stockings and garters on the lady on the poster. Hooray! Maybe I'll have to check out an episode or two of that to see, compare it. But anyway, I like both the Ranking of Kings and Ranking of Kings being one of the more unique art styles I've seen since maybe Escaflowne. But I've been in, so those aren't really new, they're just continuing. I've been quite enjoying those. But what is also not new, but continuing after another long hiatus, is the second half of the final season of Attack on Titan, which I, like many, have been watching Attack on Titan for years, and have quite enjoyed it right up until about the last season, including the first half. Basically, once they get off the island and go over to Marley and explain exactly what's happening, and you're like, oh, it's just racism. Oh. Okay. Why is this happening? Why would they do... They're racist. That's it. They're just racist. Everyone who lives on this island are demon monster peoples, and we should genocide them. The people who live on the island? Yeah, them. The ones who live exclusively on the island. And never come off it. Right. We need to go across the big body of water separating us and kick the snot out of them? Yep. Why? Well, because they're big stupid doo-doo heads. Okay. Not that Attack on Titan isn't... I think the gaps between seasons have been not in the show's best interest, because I went into the first episode or two of the second half of the final season, and I was like, I don't remember who some of these people are, or what their affiliation is, or what's going on, because I stopped caring. The show started out, there's horrible monsters, and we must band together to fight off these horrible monsters against all odds. Ah ha ha, and it's great. And then you find, oh man, there's more going on here than we thought. Some people can turn into titans, and some of them seem to be our friends who are turning into titans and killing us. It's like, why? Like, what the hell? We've been sitting here on this island for 100 years, being victimized by these huge giants, and then someone's gonna just kick in our door and let them in and eat us? Why? Why indeed? Oh my god, the walls are made of titans? How did that even happen? Oh my gosh! And it's just racism. They're just racist. Which, yeah, but I don't know, not terribly interesting to me. So I'm still watching it, I'm still enjoying it, but the last season, that last arc, when it finally explained everything, I just stopped caring, really. Again, still enjoying it, still watching it, but it's just not as interesting to me anymore. Oh well. Other than that, though, Mushroom One. Is that the name of a show? Mushroom One? Mushroom. Well, it's not on Funimation. Let's try them Crunchy Rolls. Mushroom. I don't see it on Crunchyroll either. Samu says, now I remember where I've seen you. It was that Terra censorship video. Oh, I'm glad you like that. I was actually talking to a commenter about the Terra censorship video. I think it holds up pretty well. It's something I made, 8 years ago or something like that. And if I were to redo it today, I'd probably be more explicit as to who... For those of you who don't know, Terra is a video game that came out years ago, and it features character design that some might find off-putting. Well, Frogster and Mass, the publishers, decided to get out ahead of a controversy that wasn't actually happening, and censor these particular characters in the dumbest way possible. Like, these characters are like little wood nymphs. They're very childish looking, only they have very womanly hips. But, so they look 12 years old with round womanly hips, but they're really, they're 1,000 years old, so it's okay to be horny for them. And a third of them are in battle bikini kind of outfits. So Frogster and Mass's decision was, for the American release, was to put an extra inch of fabric on their shorty shorts. Which is stupid. Because anyone bothered by that particular character design is definitely not going to be mollified by the extra inch of fabric. And anyone who wasn't bothered in the first place is just going to be annoyed at changing the character design in such a sloppy, haphazard manner in response to no outcry. So I made a video pointing out how and why the publisher's decision was dumb and made no sense. Had I made the video today, I would have been more clear that I was not making fun of anyone who had an issue with the character design in the first place. That's not who the video is targeting. It's targeting the publishers for making a dumb decision for dumb reasons. They went about fixing a non-existent problem in an ineffective way. So they made up a problem, and then they applied a fix that wouldn't fix the problem if it were a problem in the first place. That's silly. So I made a video making fun of it. If I'd done it again today, I'd be a bit more clear. It's like, look, if you don't... they're the Elins, I think. If you are uncomfortable by the shorty short wearing Elin characters, that's cool. That's fine. Perfectly valid reaction to that. So, if that wasn't clear in the video I made 8 years ago, my apologies. I think I did pin a comment or put it in the video description that, who the video, who I was making fun of, but, there you go. 9 years ago? Okay. Sabikui Bisco and Genius Prince are good watching. Have not heard of those. I'll have to write it down. Whoops. Let's see. Sabikui Bisco. Is that two different shows, or is that one? Anyway, it's about mushroom. Alright. It's a problem when non-gamers get mad about game issues. I wouldn't say so. I get what you're going for. I would clarify that it's a problem when people decide to get upset about something that they genuinely don't understand. Not that they just don't understand, but are wrong about. Like, Frogster and Mass, they're game publishers, so... I mean, you could say the individuals who work for the publishers, like the CEOs and stuff, that, the upper management are probably not gamers. They're just people running a company. But that was the weird thing, is it was one of those things where they were trying to anticipate what they thought might be a problem and get out in front of it. So they said, oh man, them Americans are gonna look at the Elin Shorty Shorts, and instead of just, using an Elin with pants, because a third of the characters actually do have pants, they're not all battle bikinis, or any one of the other, 8 some odd character types. Humans, demons, ents, whatever. There's a bunch of different characters in the game. They said, okay, what we're gonna, because we know those uptight Americans, they don't like young and looking characters in undies, so we're gonna change the young looking characters in undies so that they're wearing ever so slightly more undies. But okay, two main problems here. Number one, no one's complained yet. Number two, anyone who would complain, maybe, Frogster and En Masse were prophetic and correct. Maybe there would have been an outcry. Maybe. However, if there were, this would have done nothing to mollify anyone who actually had a problem with it. So, what I was making fun of was their their solution is ineffectual. Even if the problem was non-existent, maybe it would have manifested. Who knows? But, yeah. Like, you don't need to make up a problem. And if you think it's going to be a problem, well, that's forward-looking. That's good. But at least make sure your solution would actually, work. Because the only thing they accomplished was just piss everybody off, because now the people who are upset by the Ellen undies, Eline, I don't know how it's pronounced. The Eline undies is still upset, and everyone else who wasn't upset is annoyed with their slapdash crappy patching of the undies. Because what they did was they just painted on non-textured fabric. Like anyone who had a bare midriff, they just painted their bellies blue or orange or whatever color the outfit happened to be, so it looked like they were wearing body paint. You know? I mean, the original designs, even if you don't like them aesthetically, or you feel that it's leads to a problem with sexualization of children, you have to admit that they are considered and detailed designs, because the battle undies do have intricate designs on them. The censored version, they just slapped an extra inch of fabric on them and then painted their stomachs blue or whatever color, and it was sloppy and slapdash and disrespectful. It was gross. Does it make the game unplayable? No, it's a cosmetic thing. But that's the thing that got me the most. I'm like, your solution. You've got two broad groups of people: those who care and those who don't. Your solution doesn't help those who care and pisses off those who don't, and a third group who doesn't care either way. So it's a dumb thing to do, which is why I made fun of them for 8 or 9 minutes in a video. But yeah, I don't think you have to be, and I don't think Jared's saying this, I don't think you have to be a gamer to comment on gaming stuff, but I would request, if you are in some position of power that allows you to affect our hobby, you at least understand what you're doing, right? I mean, because that was, if we all remember Jack Thompson, right? One of the more frustrating things, but besides just being a really lousy person who took advantage of people's grief for money, so that was probably the biggest thing there. But one of the most frustrating things about Jack Thompson is he genuinely had no idea what the hell he was talking about. Like, he would say things about video. This horrible stuff about video games. Look how bad this is. It's like, okay, but that's not true, though. Which, I mean, it's clear you've never played Grand Theft Auto. Whatever you think of Grand Theft Auto, you like it, love it, don't care, one way or the other, it doesn't matter, because what you're saying is not true. That's not how the game works. That's like not how any game works. You know? It's clear that you're just inserting yourself in a situation you don't understand. Not because you're trying to make anything better, but because it's self-serving. It's transparent. It's obvious that's what you're doing. You schmuck. Luckily, Jack Thompson just gave up at some point and just, I don't know, retired, I guess. Which is nice. Hopefully he's just not taking advantage of grief-stricken people from 2012, 13 onward, whenever he just kind of got bored and stopped. Let's see. Yeah, my Momo. Never really bothered me personally what other people choose to play in video games. Low, if I don't like what I see, I can play other game. Yeah, I'm generally of the... Now, I understand the commentary, the broader context of how people, specifically women, specifically young women, are portrayed in media, and I understand and appreciate, those broader conversations. Those are important to have. Those have value. But I am also of the opinion that you don't have to... If this game bothers you, and it's okay if it does, and we can talk about it. We can talk about the game that bothers you, and we can talk about why. We can have very interesting and fruitful discussions on this. That's not a problem. But it's when someone acts like they have to play it, or like the Elin undies are all up in your face no matter what you do. Not true. You can just, as I said, if you really want to play the Elins, you can put pants on them. That's something you can do in the game. You don't have to run around in the battle bikini. You can put pants on them. Or you can play one of the other races of characters. The devils and the the humans, orcs, whatever all the rest of them are. And what was interesting, and I do point this out in my video, is that they only cared about the Elin undies. They didn't really seem to care about, the very scantily clad other races with the obnoxious jiggling boob physics. Which, I mean, I guess they thought it's just the young-looking Elins that are going to be the problem. And, again, fair enough. Maybe. But your solution doesn't fix what you are assuming the problem would be, and that's what I'm making fun of. So. Samu says, yeah, more slapped undies over first. Yeah, it's basically what they did is, they had the battle bikinis, and they turned them into battle booty shorts. I mean, well, most of them weren't bikini cut. Most of them were short cuts. Boy shorts or gym shorts or sports shorts. And they added, like, maybe a virtual inch of fabric. It's like, they didn't do... What's funny is, the Elins have this very... I don't have enough room, I can't back up enough, and I couldn't really demonstrate it anyway, but they have a very sultry hip wiggle thing going on in their idle animations. They didn't change any of that. They're still shaking their butts all over the place. They're just doing it with an extra inch of fabric. Untextured, boring-ass fabric on their shorts. And I'm like, fine. I mean... I can still enjoy my morning breakfast. This isn't really ruining my day. It's just dumb because it doesn't help anything. Is my problem here? If the original creators, if the creative design team of Terra, had looked at the Elins or any of the characters and gone, you know what? I don't like the short shorts. Let's change the costuming a bit. And they reworked them for more coverage, less pronounced hip wiggle, whatever. If they thought that was a better design choice, I may agree, I may disagree, but I wouldn't have a problem with that. As a creator myself, sometimes I look at my older work and go, you know what? I'd change that. That's not working for me anymore. And that's not censorship. That's just changing your mind, Like when I do scripted videos, which is not very often these days because I don't have the time, I've got a better example. There are people in my life who refuse to get vaccinated, and I'm trying to change their mind. They are not... there are legitimate reasons to not get vaccinated. Health issues that would preclude you from being vaccinated. Not what I'm talking about. This person is eligible for vaccination. In my communications with this person, I write and rewrite and censor myself. Because I write, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I think, you know what, it's a good question maybe, but probably not helpful. Delete. Let's maybe not do that. Oh, self-censorship. No, I'm just changing my mind. I think not including that particular line, particularly with the profanity, might be more effective. On the other hand, I have been batting zero and trying to convince other people to get vaccinated, people who refuse to get vaccinated, batting literally zero on this. So maybe I should drop F-bombs. I don't know. But, yeah. I didn't think I'd be talking about Terra today. Yes, Jack Thompson got disbarred for, among other things, lying. He was a lawyer who lied as a lawyer so much that other lawyers said, dude, you can't lie that much. Okay, lawyer jokes. Yes, he was disbarred. I think 24 counts of shame on yous, and I think like 2/3 of them were boiled down to just lying. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Is Jack Thompson was absolutely a liar. He lied all the time. I mean, demonstrably. Like, for example, he always said, well, the AMA released a study saying this. I'm like, no, here's the study. It's not a study. It's a resolution, and it doesn't say that anyway. Well, the Harvard brain scan study, this one actually, I bugged this guy for like a year before he finally admitted he made it up. There is no Harvard brain scan study, at least not at the time. And it wasn't even, there was like a really weird tangential 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon link to Harvard. Like, he finally cited a study, and I'm like, okay, but that was done like at the University of Michigan. It wasn't funded by Harvard. It wasn't performed at Harvard. It wasn't done by anyone at Harvard or who'd been to Harvard. And it's not a brain scan study, and it's not looking at video games, so you're wrong in every possible way. And I think there was one tenuous link, like one of the co-authors was like an honorary Harvard student or teacher or something like that. And, well, there. It's like, well, no one would take, this one author as an honorary member of a different school and call it a Harvard study. You're only calling it a Harvard study because it makes it sound prestigious, because you're a liar. He also called my work and tried to get me fired. And everyone laughed at him. But yeah, he was a nasty, lying, abusive old coot. Let's see. Jared says, my point was that they take the extreme of extremes, then run with it, then make a bad take, such as Gamergate. Yeah, and that's why I couched my commentary on. I don't think that's what you were saying in the first place, and you clearly weren't. Yeah, you can. I don't think you have to be, like I said, you don't have to. You can talk about gamer stuff even if you're not a gamer. That's fine. But yeah, if you are in some position of power or authority to make changes that would affect, gamers, then I think we would all ask you to at least know what you're talking about and not lie. Because if you have to lie, then your position doesn't hold water. Because if your position holds water, you don't have to lie. That's how it works. You could wear a snowsuit from the pay shop. Yeah. Talking about the aliens. Yeah, you can wear pants. You can do one of the other races of characters, or you could play something else. And you could get into a broader discussion of, but it's really difficult to find a video game where female characters aren't sexually objectified. Fair discussion to be had there. It's getting better, and kudos on everyone involved. We're getting a lot more variety in the characters that are available for us to play, and how they look, and we're getting a lot more options, and more options is great. So things are getting better. Let me move the cursor here. That's funny about the censorship hit. They had a Paytown shop outfit, what was pure lingerie with stockings and thongs, and they censored some undies. Oh, really? So there was like add-on, even skimpier undie add-on content. Yeah, I mean that would be an interesting. Let's say you're Frogster and NMass, or whoever the publishers of the game were, and you're thinking, you know what? I think there's a fair chance that people are going to be upset specifically of the attire of this particular class of characters. So what we might want to do is provide a free download patch kind of thing that puts bike shorts on everyone. Where if, that's a problem and you want everyone in bike shorts instead of battle undies, you can do that. Or if you, and even other players who are running around in battle undies will appear to you wearing bike shorts. Or something like that. Or, actually designed outfits with more coverage. Butt capes or something. That would actually be a better solution. I've always wondered, it's like, I don't know. There just seems to be a way to cater to everyone with minimal fuss, But solutions that piss one group off and doesn't help the other group that may or may not exist, that seems like an odd place to go to. I don't know why you'd bother. Hey, Chicago. Chaos says, at this point, if someone hasn't been vaccinated, you are unlikely to change their minds. Seems so, yeah. So let's get into a little Andrew therapy here. I have been, despite my best efforts, have been completely unsuccessful in convincing the people in my life I know of who staunchly refuse to be unvaccinated. Now, if you're a frequent watcher of my podcast, you may remember me saying something along the lines of, I always think that everyone is my age, because I can't tell how old anyone is. Unless you're obviously 12 years old or obviously 90, you're 42, just like me. Everyone is my age. Speaking of 42, I am newly 42. My birthday was sometime this week, the 1st. And this is what my sister got me for my birthday. It's a useless box. What happens when you flip the switch on the useless box? A little arm comes out of the box and flips it back down. It really doesn't want that switch up. This is the best thing ever. I love this. I love that. Anyway, happy birthday to me. What I find particularly galling about... Referring to a specific person in my life who staunchly refuses to get vaccinated. I found this out last October, thereabouts, maybe September. Because, just like I assume everyone is my age, I just assume that all of my family and all of my friends are vaccinated. Because, of course they are. I mean, unless one of them have some rare condition, like some rare allergy or immunocompromised in some way that precludes them from getting vaccinated, that if they're eligible, they would be vaccinated. Because of course they are. Why wouldn't they be? Of course they were. So when I found out in September, October that this particular person was not vaccinated, I was very surprised. And I have learned over the past couple of years, as I have found out more and more of the people in my life, not all of them, but more and more of the people in my life are genuinely terrible people. Not just because of vaccination things, but, like I found out that people in my life are just virulent bigots. And somehow I didn't know. Or maybe I just really want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Like I'll hear something mildly problematic or something that's not outrightly bigoted but is definitely a bright waving red flag and want to give them the benefit of the doubt because they're someone I care about. You could say it's cowardly, and you might be right, that I did not ask any of my friends or family. It's like, are you vaccinated? I just assumed they were. I talked a couple of weeks ago about a friend that I'd not heard from in a couple of months, and then recently found out why. Because they got very, very sick because they weren't vaccinated. Had I known, I would have tried to convince them to get vaccinated. I'm still trying, haven't heard from them since. Don't know if I've been successful, but as someone in the chat said, if you're not vaccinated, if you're eligible to be vaccinated and you're not vaccinated at this point, you're probably not going to be. Nevertheless, I've spent the last 4 some months emailing back and forth with one of these people in my life, trying to convince them to get vaccinated. You know, answering all of their questions, showing why. This is going to sound like hyperbole. It's going to sound like a gross, unfair exaggeration, but I'm not kidding. Showing them how and why, literally, not figuratively, literally, how and why literally every single thing they said on the subject is wrong. I'm sure all of probably the vast majority of us, there's like 7 people in the chat, I would imagine pretty good odds that all of us went through school to some extent, right? And in school we took tests. So show of hands in the chat, has anyone ever scored a 0 on a test? Not for something dumb because you didn't take the test or didn't turn it in or forgot to put your name on it or just refused to fill it out or something, but actually took the test in good faith and answered every single question wrong. I've not heard of anyone ever doing that. I'm sure it's happened at some point in human history, but this is a gut feeling, which is useless, but my gut feeling is that if you are wrong about literally everything regarding a particular subject, you're doing it on purpose. I can't state that as an absolute truth, but I find it very difficult to believe that you haven't accidentally stumbled upon one truth. You know? How is it possible that you are wrong, like 180 degrees backwards from the truth on every single assertion you make regarding subject X? It's like, you gotta be doing it on purpose at some point, right? No one can be that wrong. I mean, I'm hopeless when it comes to interpersonal relationships, but even I get something right now and then, you know? So this person I've been talking to for months, and they'll say what they think and what they feel and what they assert to be true, and I meticulously go through every single point they make and show them demonstrably, qualitatively, how and why they are wrong about literally everything they say. And then they respond without addressing anything I said or even acknowledging any of it, which is really frustrating. So I've changed tactics several times. They summed up, they said, well, look, here are my big, all caps big, here are my all caps big problems with vaccination, they say. Number 1, number 2. And I wrote a long response, and then I went, wait a minute. And I just wrote them back, and I said, you say that these are your 2 all caps big problems. If I proved to you that you were 100% completely wrong about both of your all caps big problems, would you get vaccinated? You say these are your 2 big problems. If I showed you 100%, no doubt, that you are absolutely, completely wrong about both, would you get vaccinated? No. They told me no. Points for honesty, I guess. That tells me I don't know how to interpret that except two different ways. One, you lied to me about these being the big problems. Or two, you genuinely just don't care what's true. And I I don't I don't know what to do. I don't know if there's anything I can do. Maybe there's something that someone could do and I just can't. I don't have the words. I don't have the temperament. I don't know. But it's frustrating, it's stressful, it's maddening. Makes it really hard to get through my work day. Every time an email pops into my inbox, my stomach sinks and I'm filled with dread that it's from them. And I'm going to read it and just get very angry at all of the dumb bullshit. And they come up with stuff that I've never heard before. Well, did you know that this, and this? I'm like, no, that never heard that before. So I guess now I have to take time out of my day and look into that. Oh, what do you know? That's not true. So, and then they said, they're like, well, I'm off to work in the kitchen at my church and serve people food. And that was the email where my initial response was, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" Deleted that because I didn't think that would be very helpful, even though that's what I was thinking. I'm like, oh my god. Not only, oh, and they've had COVID twice. And they're like, what? I wear a mask when people specifically ask me. So I wanted to, I wanted to say what the F is wrong with you, and golly, I hope you're at least putting up a sign somewhere that says, warning, food prep people are not vaccinated. Eat at your own risk. I I don't understand how someone can be shown that they're wrong and not change their position. It's like, well, I hold this position because fact 1, fact 2, fact 3. Okay, fact 1, fact 2, and fact 3 are not facts. They're wrong. Here's the proof. Oh, well, I still hold that position. But the facts supporting your position don't exist, so it does not appear to be about what is true. It appears to be about how I feel. I have decided that vaccines are not for me for whatever reason. And I will accept any evidence that supports my decision, and I will reject whether it is, not evidence, just things I hear. Well, I hear from people. Who? Well, my pastor told me. I'm just like, is your pastor an expert in any relevant field? No? Well, then maybe listen to the consensus of experts and not, your pastor or your friends or the people you meet at work, or like your customers. Well, I mean, well, one of the people I was moving is said that. It's like, really, what do they do? Oh, I own a car dealership. I'm like, great. Then they're a layperson. They don't know. Why are you? Well, because they're telling me what I want to hear. It really, I mean, certainly doesn't speak well of this fixture of my life to say that they genuinely do not seem to care what's true. I don't know how to deal with that. I don't know how to interact with that. I don't know how to respond to that. I don't know what to do with that. What do you do with that? Well, I feel that 2 plus 2 is 5. It's not. It's 4. I can show you how and why 2 plus 2 is 4. Well, okay, be that as it may, I still feel that it's 5. And, some person, I've heard from someone that it's 5. Who? It's someone I met on the street. I'm just, why are you listening to random people? So all of the people, all the mathematicians, as in people who, make this their life's work, are, throughout the centuries have all been wrong, but the rando on the street, it must get... I tried anecdotes, thinking appeal to emotion. Didn't work. Tried analogy. Didn't work. In fact, the analogy was the only thing they actually acknowledged, which was weird. And they also completely missed the point, too, which... Use the seatbelt analogy. You put on a seatbelt because it reduces the chance that it goes away towards reducing how injured you'll be in a car accident. You're less likely to die. You're less likely to be as injured. It doesn't prevent you from getting in accidents, but it does make it more likely that you'll survive with less injury. And that's good. So I would encourage you to wear a seat belt. Of course, this isn't a perfect analogy because accidents aren't contagious. I mean, you can have pile-ups, right? But it's not a perfect analogy. I think another particularly galling thing was they told me that they would never, ever think of trying to convince me to wear a seatbelt. Not sure exactly how to take that. I mean, I want to think that they're not... I definitely want to think that they're not... I don't think they're saying, I don't care if you die in a car wreck. I don't care if you get particularly injured. That's none of my concern. Wear a seatbelt, I don't care. I don't care how injured in a wreck. I'm pretty sure that's not what they meant. I can only imagine they meant something along the lines of... if you were just staunchly against wearing a seatbelt, I'd encourage you to wear one, but if you were just staunchly against it, well, I mean, you do you. And, yeah, I mean, I would try to convince you to buckle up for safety, too. But at some point, I'd say, well, I hope you don't get in a car wreck. Also, it's like $100 fine here in California. Also, again, not wearing your seatbelt, it's not a great analogy because not wearing your seatbelt doesn't affect anyone else. I mean, there's the off chance that you could get in a wreck and get in a wreck, and he said a wreck, tee-hee. Get in a wreck, and because you're not belted, fly out of your car and land on somebody. It's like, not wearing your seatbelt injured someone else. But I mean, that's so incredibly unlikely that it's not really worth talking about. But that's an important difference between, wearing a seatbelt and getting vaccinated. Is diseases are the COVID's contagious. You can give it to other people. So yeah, they told me in no uncertain terms that even if they're wrong about everything, they're still not getting vaccinated. Then they had the gall to ask me, it's like, well, but I still want to know what the right answer is. I'm like, it doesn't matter to you. I mean, because I'm like that, I still show, okay, well, big problem one, completely wrong, here's why. Big problem two, also completely wrong, here's why. They had no response, didn't even acknowledge that I sent that one. You know what else is kind of gross? This particular person has sent me birthday and Christmas money, like more than they ever have. And normally I get like a card, maybe a little bit of birthday money in the card, because they're thoughtful. But I just got both times I got a check, and that for $100, and that feels gross. That feels like they're trying to mollify me with money. Oh, I'm not here. Here, have some money. Stop complaining. I'm still cashing the check. Next time I go to the bank anyway. Because I have to go to the bank every once in a while to get quarters for the laundry machine. Jared, you're 20 years younger than me. Doesn't matter. If I saw a picture of you, I'd probably figure you're my age. Or maybe I just figure I'm everyone else's age, and maybe I'd think I was 22. Momo's playing Mario Party Superstar. All right. You can tell that I'm 9 years older than the time I made the Ellen video. Oh, well, I mean at least I'm aging appropriately. This reminds you of the cat paw piggy bank. Yeah, it's similar to that. I've seen those. What do you say to someone who has gotten over the bug and doesn't want to get vaccinated? Get vaccinated anyway, so that you're because you're more protected. You don't want to get it again. And specifically, you don't want to give it to anybody else who might have it worse than you. That's the thing that gets me is this person has definitely passed this thing because of the way they operate out in public. I know one person that this person's almost... I mean, there's no way to know for certain, but the very high likelihood that this person got someone else I know sick. And knowing that the way they work, they're around people all the time. They're with their customers and front-facing with their customers. They're constantly going and hanging out with, getting into gatherings and have throughout the entire pandemic. And I'm going to guess that none of their friends asked them to wear a mask. So, and they've had COVID twice. I don't know why you'd keep rolling that. But yeah, essentially, that's another thing this person said, is that I've had it twice. It was no big deal. I mean, okay, tell that to the over 900,000 people in this country who've died, in the last 2 years. Or, well, you can't. They're dead. Maybe tell it to their families. Yeah, I know your loved one died, but it was no big deal for me. I've had COVID twice and I was fine. Everyone who dies from COVID is just a weenie. Just a weak, lily-livered little weenie. But yeah, if you got COVID and you came out the other side okay, I'm very glad to hear that. And I encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as it's safe to do so that you're less likely to get it again. And if you do, you're less likely to, and if you're less likely to get it, you're less likely to give it to anyone else who could then pass it to someone else, and so on and so forth, who might have it worse than you did. And if you do get it, you're less likely to get sick. And if you do get sick, you're less likely to be hospitalized. And if you do get hospitalized, you're less likely to die. Y'all play D&D, right? A tabletop game? Because everyone plays Dungeons and Dragons, right? So, in Dungeons and Dragons, how do I not have a D20? This is a... Here we go. So this is the fabled D20. It's a 20-sided die. In Dungeons and Dragons, this broad general overview, but when it's like, I'm going to hit the goblin in the face with a sword. Okay, roll your D20. Well, if you roll a 20, that's a critical hit. And that usually, normally you check the armor class and you do all kinds of crap and you calculate and it's like, okay, you did 4 hit points of damage. But if you do a critical hit, you roll a 20, and if you've got a 1 in 20 shot at doing that, you're probably decapitating the little bugger. On the other end of the spectrum is the critical miss. When you roll a 1, that means you didn't just... You roll like a 3, you probably missed, or your sword glances off the armor and does no damage. You roll a 1, you probably accidentally stabbed yourself in the damn foot. Right? There are also, like, proficiency checks, right? It's like, oh, the pit of death. I attempt to leap over the pit of death. Well, I mean, if you roll a 20, you definitely cleared that sucker with a foot to spare, and also you dislodged a boulder from the ceiling which filled in the pit of death, and now everyone can easily walk across behind you. How great. Now, if you try to jump across the pit of death and you roll a 1, you probably fall in the pit of death. Unless you have an overgenerous a DM. So, catching COVID is kind of like rolling a die. If you look at in America alone, last I looked, it was like 75 million cases of COVID, and 900,000 deaths. You do the quick, dirty math on that, and that's about 1.3% of the people who get COVID die. So, essentially, for every 100 people who get COVID, 1, maybe 2 of them die. So, it's kind of like if you get COVID, you're rolling a 100-sided die and trying not to roll a 1. I mean, it's not great odds that you're going to roll a 1, but it's a 1 in 100 shot, but still, if my life is on the line, I don't want to roll I don't want to take the roll, period. This person in my life has rolled the 100-sided die twice. And apparently rolled in the high 90s, so good on them. But they appear to seem willing to keep rolling that die. However, if you get vaccinated, instead of rolling like a 100-sided die and trying to avoid a 1, you're rolling like a 20 million-sided die and trying to avoid a 1. So, I mean, I don't have a 100. I've seen a 100. I've seen 100-sided die. They're kind of funny. They're mostly round. They're pretty neat though. But I do have a 20 and I have a 4. Now, if your life depended on you not rolling a 1, like if I put a gun to your head and I said, okay, you're going to roll a die, and if you roll a 1, I'm going to blow your damn head off. Now, I'll leave it up to you. Would you like to roll the 4-sided die or the 20-sided die? Well, this person in my life is just happy to keep on rolling that four-sided die. I don't understand anyone who would, in this weird hypothetical, choose the four-sided die. I would take the better odds of not dying. Hell, I would do the thing that makes it more likely that I don't have to roll in the first place. And somehow, in this analogy, if you are stuck in the situation where you have to choose a role, everyone you come in contact with has some percentage chance of being stuck in the same thing because it's contagious. People are the worst. Some of them suck. Yeah. I actually, I my when in the before times when we worked in the office, we had we got flu shots at work. They just came into our work and we got flu shots. They didn't do that one year, and I completely forgot about it because I was used to getting it at work, and it wasn't at work that year, so I completely forgot about it. I got the damn flu the following like January or February. It sucked. I mean, you're not guaranteed to get the flu if you don't get vaccinated, as Samu says. They, well, I don't know what your flu vaccination status is, but you've gone 25 years without getting the flu, so glad to hear that, because getting the flu sucks. So, get vaccinated, because you're less likely to get whatever you're being vaccinated against. And if you do, symptoms are much more likely to be significantly milder. Well, I would recommend that you go through your adult vaccine series. Because remember, vaccination is not just about you. It's about everyone you interact with. Now, if you don't interact with anyone, like if you live in your apartment and you get all your food and supplies delivered, or you live out in the middle of the woods or something and you live off the land, I mean, yeah, sure, okay. But, vaccinations, again, are not just about you. They're about everyone else. So I would encourage everyone to complete their, child and adult vaccine series. For adults, it's not that many. Yearly flu shot. There's the tetanus and diphtheria. I forget what the other one is. That's a every decade. That's once a decade. Hepatitis, I think, is one. I think it's a 2 or 3 round series, but I think you only get one. You only have to do that once, I think. So yeah, I'd encourage everyone to complete their vaccine series. You still playing Terra, huh? Well, glad you're enjoying it. I've never played. It's a MMO. It's not my genre of gaming anyway. There are anti-maskers here, says Chicago, who will ask if a restaurant is freedom friendly. They don't care if they risk other people's lives, won't wear masks, and harp on people who do. Yeah, some people suck. Having COVID twice will have a bigger die than... Are you saying that having COVID twice gives you better protection than getting vaccinated? Because I actually looked that up, and that's not true. I mean, there is... you do have a measure of protection for some time after having COVID, but you have more protection from getting vaccinated. So... get vaccinated. I mean, it's not like getting vaccinated lessens the protection that you know, the amount of protection that you have for the time you have it after getting COVID. That's not how that works. So, more antibodies make cases less strong. Correct. The more resistant you are to any particular disease, then the generally the less severe the symptoms are when you if you get it. So, well, hey, I was going to talk about the Book of Boba Fett and how much episode 6 was one of the worst episodes of television I've seen in some time, but it's already 8 o'clock. So, I think next week's episode of Book of Boba Fett is the last one, so maybe we'll just hold off and see how everything concludes and see if they stick the landing. That would be nice, because generally speaking, I just haven't been enjoying Book of Boba Fett. I don't think it's very good. Not that there's nothing to enjoy. There are aspects I've liked, but whew, man, episode 6 was rough. Which is interesting, because I heard from some other people who were like, oh my god, it's the best episode of television I've ever seen. I'm like, really? Well, shoot, wish I felt that way. Because once again, I watched it and then I went to bed annoyed because it's like, that was garbage. Firelight says, no, I just got here. Maybe they'll kill Boba off. They may have already, because he wasn't in the last 2 episodes. He was in this week's episode very briefly. I think he even had a line. But the last 2 episodes have essentially been Mandalorian season 3. But yeah, I'll talk about Boba Fett, I guess, next week, and why it didn't do it for me. So yeah. So safe and healthy, all y'all. Join me tomorrow, noon Pacific Standard Time, for some more Trails in the Sky 2nd chapter. We're in... What are we doing? We're not visiting Revenue Village because Agate is a twerp and doesn't like his sister, and he doesn't want to go visit her because he's a putz. So we're going to head east, back towards Roland, I think, and Nebel Valley, I think, is where we're going. There's another monster to fight. And then maybe we can go visit his sister and see what the heck's up with that. Yeah, so tomorrow, more video games, noon Pacific Standard Time. So it'll be fun. Boba leaves Tatooine with his Rancor. Yeah, he's definitely going to be riding the Rancor. I mean, that's a thing that's got to happen. So, all right. Thanks everyone for hanging out. Hope you're safe, healthy, and happy, and hope to see you tomorrow for some gaming goodness. Good night, everyone. Bye bye.